This video will show you how to use the AR or Accounts Receivable module in Transport Pro. Transport Pro allows you to record payments against open invoices via the Cash Receipts module. We'll show a few different examples, such as how to record short payments or overpayments, and even open credits. It is important to note that the cash receipt system also feeds the customer credit check system. So if you want the TMS to automatically track your customer's credit limits and flag you accordingly when a customer is nearing or has exceeded their credit limit, then you must use the cash receipt system. Let's add a cash receipt. To do this, go to AR, Cash Receipts, Add Cash Receipt. We'll take a look at the cash receipt entry screen and run through an explanation of fields. The yellow fields are required. You can give the cash receipt a description if you'd like, but this is not required. Enter the check number for the payment received. If it is a wire transfer, enter the number 1. This way, later on, when you go to run a search, you'll be able to see that every check number with a 1 was a wire transfer. Enter the check amount or amount received. You'll see at the bottom, it says unapplied credits. This is the check amount. As soon as you enter the check amount and click out of that field, the unapplied credits will calculate. Date received. This is the date you received payment. This field will default to the current date, but you can change the date if needed. Recorded by. This is to show who recorded the cash receipt. The name of the user adding the cash receipt will be auto-inserted, but you can click on the lock icon and then change the user if needed. You have an option to freeze this cash receipt. If this box is checked, it will prevent you from posting the cash receipt. So if you do freeze this cash receipt and later wish to post it, you'll need to come back in here and uncheck this box to post it. Debit account. This is the account you wish to debit when the cash receipt is posted. This drop-down looks to the checking accounts you have set up in the system, and this field can be defaulted for you upon setup. AR credit account. This is the account you wish to credit when the cash receipt is posted. By default, the system is set up to hit the AR Trade GL account. If you would like the system to default to a different GL account, please consult with your accountant. If you are unsure of which debit or credit accounts to hit here, you'll want to consult with your accountant. Checking accounts are managed under Accounting, Checking Accounts, Add or Search Checking Accounts. The GL accounts are tied to the system's chart of accounts, which can be reviewed by going to Accounting, Chart of Accounts, Search Chart of Accounts. Post to invoices. The bottom half of this form is where you apply the payment, or in other words, where we put those unapplied credits. Let's run through the invoice type drop-down menu. You've got 4 options here: load, miscellaneous billing, non-AR, and open credit. It defaults to load. We would have this selected if we were applying this payment against a specific load. Miscellaneous billing. This is if you wish to apply the payment against a miscellaneous invoice. Non-AR. You would select this if you wish to apply the payment directly to a general ledger account. And open credit. If an overpayment is made, the balance can be applied to an open credit. I'm going to show you how to add cash receipts against all 4 invoice types. First, let's take a look at applying payment against a load. So once you've entered all of the required information in the top half of the form, we'll want to make sure loads is selected here from the invoice type dropdown. Enter the invoice number. The invoice number is the Transport Pro load ID. In Transport Pro, the load ID is the invoice number. If you know the Transport Pro load ID, you can simply type the ID in the invoice number field, and the system will auto-insert the customer information as well as the balance due and amount to pay. If you're unsure of the load ID, or perhaps you need to apply the payment against several loads, then you can search for open invoices by clicking on the magnifying glass next to the invoice number field. When you click on the magnifying glass, a Search Invoices window will open. You can use the filters to search for specific open invoices, or you can simply click Search to bring up a list of all open invoices in the system. Once you click Search, that list of open invoices will generate. From here, you can click anywhere on the row of the invoice you wish to insert on the cash receipt. If the payment is going against several loads, you can click on all applicable rows to auto-insert the information on the cash receipt. Now, it is important to note here that there is a limit of applying payment to 100 loads per cash receipt. So if you're trying to apply payment against more than 100 loads, then you'll have to do it in batches. Once you select the open invoice or invoices, the system inserts the customer, balance due, and amount to pay. The system also auto-calculates the remaining balance. So in this example, the balance is now $0 and all of the unapplied credits have been applied, so the cash receipt can be saved. In the case that an overpayment is made, the balance can be applied to an open credit. Once you save the overpayment as an open credit, then the next time you apply a cash receipt for that customer, the system will alert you that an open credit is available to apply. So let's take a look at how to record an open credit. First, you would apply the payment against the load or the loads, as shown in the previous step. The overpayment amount will be reflected as unapplied credits. If you try to save the cash receipt without applying all of the credits, you'll get an error. So in this example, let's say the check amount is $1,200, but the load balance is only $1,000, showing an overpayment of $200. You can record the $200 as an open credit and then apply that open credit for the customer at a later time. So to record that open credit, you would select Open Credit from the Invoice Type dropdown after applying the payment to your loads. So you would do that on the second or subsequent line to the loads. When you do select Open Credit, you'll notice that the invoice number field will become grayed out. You will then make a note in the Open Credit reference field, which can be whatever you want. Tag the correct customer record and enter the amount of the open credit, or in other words, the unapplied credits. When you do this, the system will auto-calculate the remaining balance to reflect that open credit. Then save the record. So the next time you go to record a cash receipt for this customer and say you wish to apply that recorded open credit, that we just saved. You will enter a new cash receipt, and on one of the lines, you're going to select Open Credit from the Invoice Type dropdown. Then click the magnifying glass next to the invoice number field to search for those open credits that have been recorded. Really the same way I showed you how to search for open invoices before this. When you find the open credit you wish to apply, click on it to lock it in. Now, let's take a look at another example you might run into, which is short payments. You can record short payments a couple of different ways depending on what you want to do. For example, you may wish to collect the amount that the customer short paid, or you may decide not to collect that money and just write it off. I'm going to show you how to handle each scenario. Enter the cash receipt information and apply the check amount against the load or loads as you normally would. The system will automatically calculate the remaining balance to show you the difference between the balance due and the amount to pay. If you are going to try and collect this balance from the customer, simply save the cash receipt. This remaining balance will be reflected on the AR aging report for this customer. And please note, I'm going to cover the AR aging report in a separate video. If you decide that you are not going to try and collect the remaining balance and you just wish to write it off, then you can apply an adjustment code. By default, when you get started with Transport Pro, the only adjustment code you're going to see here is RTE, which just stands for rate adjustment. However, you have the ability to add or edit adjustment codes. That's handled under the administration menu. So, for example, you may wish to create a code and call it short or something to that effect. You can easily do that in the system. So to write off the remaining amount, select the desired adjustment code, then enter the amount you're writing off. This will update the remaining balance. Save the record. Now, I do want to tell you where you can manage those adjustment codes. Administrators do have the ability to add and edit those codes for cash receipts. The most common example of applying those adjustment codes to a cash receipt would be in the case of a short payment, but you may have another scenario that you need to create a code for. Now, like I said, by default, you're just going to see the one code. If you wish to add or edit these adjustment codes, you'll go to Administration, Manage Site Settings, Manage Adjustment Codes. Then you can add or edit. And I'm going to take you through an explanation of fields on this code, since you would use it on your cash receipt. So let's take a look at these fields. Code. This is how the code will show up in that adjustment code dropdown on the cash receipt. It can be whatever you want it to be. GL account. This is the GL account that should be hit when this code is applied. Again, if you're unsure of which GL account this code should link to, you'll want to consult with your accountant. Adjustment. Tag this code as either an adjustment or a refund. And description. You can give the code an internal description. It's optional. Now let's flip back over to the cash receipts page. I'm going to show you how to apply a cash receipt against a miscellaneous invoice. So just as you can apply payment against a load, you can also do that for miscellaneous invoices with open balances. Transport Pro gives you the ability to create miscellaneous invoices as needed, and you can do that by going to Billing, Miscellaneous Invoicing, Add Miscellaneous Invoice. An example of when you may need to create a miscellaneous invoice is for something such as project management. Miscellaneous invoices should not be created for loads or in lieu of applying payment directly against a load. So you may not even have a need to use the miscellaneous invoice system, but we like you to know that it's here. So again, make sure the top half of the cash receipt form is filled out correctly. Then you would select Miscellaneous Billing from the Invoice Type drop-down menu. Click the magnifying glass icon next to the invoice number field to search for a list of your open miscellaneous invoices. Then select the miscellaneous invoice information you wish to insert. This process, again, is about the same as applying payment against a load. Once you've got the information inserted, save the record. Now let's take a look at applying payment to a non-AR cash receipt. You have the ability to apply a cash receipt directly to a GL account if needed. And if you're not using our general ledger system, then this really isn't applicable, but we like you to know it's here. For example, say you receive a payment for something such as a refund or some other non-load related deposit. You can apply the payment directly to the ledger. Once you ensure the top half of the cash receipt form is filled out correctly, you'll select non-AR from the invoice type dropdown. When you do this, all of the fields except for the amount to pay and adjustment code will become grayed out. Enter the amount to pay and then select the appropriate GL account in the adjustment code field. If you are unsure of which GL account to hit here, you'll want to consult with your accountant. The balance will zero out and you can save the record. Now, another scenario that you may run into is receiving payment from your factoring company, and you need to know how to account for those factoring company fees. So when you use a factoring company, receiving payment is a little different than receiving payment directly from a customer, because again, you have to account for the fees that the factoring company takes. This section will show you how to properly add a cash receipt in this scenario. So in the top half of the form, enter the check amount as the net deposit. Then select non-AR from the invoice type dropdown on the first line. Enter the amount to pay. This amount should reflect your fees. You'll enter that as a negative amount. This is going to increase the available credit on the cash receipt to be the full gross amount. Enter the correct GL account in the adjustment code field. This will likely be your factoring fees expense account. And if you need to set up that expense account, again, this would be done via the system's chart of accounts, and you'll want to consult with your accountant. On the following lines of the cash receipt, then apply the payment against the load or loads. Once the remaining balance is zero, you can save the cash receipt. Once you've entered a cash receipt, whether it's against a load, miscellaneous invoice, open credit, or non-AR cash receipt, the second step is always to post the cash receipts. So just remember, there's really two steps to applying cash receipts in Transport Pro. 1, add the cash receipt, and 2, post the cash receipt. you must post the cash receipt for the system to recognize that payment has been made. It is this step that actually updates your customers' open load balances as well as drives the credit check system. To post your cash receipts, go to AR, Cash Receipts, Post Pending Cash Receipts. A list of your pending cash receipts will show in the list. You can filter the pending cash receipts by check date or the user who recorded the cash receipt. If you wish to review the details of the cash receipt before posting, you can click the little details link out to the right, and a small window will open with those details. To post the cash receipts, click Post. One other thing we'll take a look at is how to search for cash receipts in the system. So you can easily search for cash receipts that you've added by going to AR, Cash Receipts, Search Cash Receipts. Here you have several filter options. Click Search. If you wish to review a specific cash receipt in more detail, click on the ID. The last thing I'd like to show you in this video is how to void cash receipts. To void a posted cash receipt, you will need to be on the cash receipt summary screen. So first you'll have to run a search, pull up the cash receipt you'd like to void, then click on the cash receipt ID to open the summary page. Now note, if you have not yet posted the cash receipt, you can simply edit the record. Once you're on the summary screen, click the Void This Cash Receipt link. The system will ask if you're sure. Click OK. Please note, you cannot void a cash receipt if there is an open credit on it. And that covers the basics of the Cash Receipts module in Transport Pro. If you have any questions about cash receipts, please contact us at support@transportpro.net. Thank you for watching this video.